It's funny how trust works. You build it slowly, layer by layer, but it only takes one moment, one sharp, jagged truth to make it all come crashing down. I'm Matt Thompson, 35, husband, father, and, until recently, a fool who believed in happy endings. My wife, Jessica, and I had been together for nearly a decade. I met her at a summer barbecue, all radiant smiles and contagious laughter. She was magnetic and I fell hard. We had 2 kids together, a home that felt warm and safe, and a life I thought was real. But lately something felt off. It started with little things. Jessica's phone was always glued to her hand, even at dinner. She was busy with work more often, and her late-night trips to the gym became a routine. When I asked about it, she'd smile and brush me off. "Don't be ridiculous, Matt," she'd say. "You're imagining things." The way she said it made me question my own instincts. Was I being paranoid? Suspicious without cause? Still, doubt lingered like a slow-burning fire in the back of my mind. The moment everything changed, it felt so trivial at first. My friend Ethan had stopped by for a drink. We sat in the living room, laughing about old college stories, while Jessica was upstairs, getting ready to go out. When she finally came down, she was different. Too polished, too perfect for a casual night. She wore a dress that hugged her like it was made of secrets and perfume that smelled expensive enough to mask a lie. Ethan left after a while, and I lingered by the bathroom door as Jessica stood combing her hair with my comb. She didn't notice me watching as she meticulously cleaned each strand from the teeth of the comb. I didn't know why it stood out to me so much, but something clicked, a gut feeling I couldn't ignore. The next day, as a joke, I gathered some of her hair and tossed it onto one of my shirts. "Look, Jess," I teased. "You're shedding everywhere. I'm gonna start looking like you at this rate." She barely looked up, but her lips curled into a smirk that didn't reach her eyes. "Yeah, better watch out. You'll be too pretty for your own good," she said. I should have let it go. I almost did. But then, with that playful, careless tone still in my voice, I added, "Maybe I'll even start stealing your friends." Imagine that. The air changed instantly. Jessica froze. Her eyes, usually so sharp and calculating, widened just enough for me to notice. "Why would you say that?" she asked, her tone flat and cold. "Why?" I chuckled, shrugging. "Just messing around. What's wrong?" She turned back to her phone, her thumb scrolling so quickly it was obvious she wasn't reading anything. And that's when I saw it, the tiniest shift in her expression. A flicker of something I'd never seen before. Guilt. The truth came out in a way I never expected. A week after the strange exchange with Jessica, I was folding laundry. The house was quiet except for the faint hum of the dryer. Her blouse smelled faintly of a cologne that wasn't mine. I didn't overthink it. Maybe it was from someone at work. But then I grabbed one of my dress shirts from the pile and noticed a strand of hair clinging to the fabric. Long, blonde, and definitely not Jessica's. I stared at it, my heart thudding. My mind raced back to her reaction when I joked about friends. A thought I didn't want to believe began to form. I waited until she got home. She was humming as she walked into the kitchen, her eyes lighting up when she saw me, like nothing was wrong. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She arched an eyebrow. "About what?" I held up the hair, watching her carefully. It's not yours, Jess." For a moment, she didn't move. Then she laughed. A hollow, forced sound. "Are you serious? Hair gets everywhere, Matt. Stop being paranoid." "Jessica." I cut her off. "Whose is it?" "I don't know," she snapped, her tone growing sharp. "Probably one of my friends. You know how hair sticks to everything." "Which friend?" She hesitated, her lips tightening. And that was when I knew. "You're lying?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "Tell me the truth, Jess." Her eyes flicked away from mine. Then she scoffed, folding her arms across her chest. "Fine. You want the truth?" "Yes. I've been seeing someone. Happy now." I felt like the ground had opened beneath me, but her words weren't done. "Don't act so innocent," she spat. "You're boring, Matt. Predictable. always playing the good guy while I'm stuck here suffocating. Her cold, cruel honesty was like a knife to my chest. I stared at her, trying to make sense of her words. Jessica's face held no remorse, no regret. Her confession wasn't a slip of guilt. It was a weapon aimed straight at my heart. Suffocating? I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. I gave you everything, Jess. Our home, our life together, our kids. She rolled her eyes, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. Yeah, Matt, a life filled with laundry, bills, and dinner at 6:30 every night. Congratulations on your perfect routine. Too bad it's not enough. And sneaking around is better? I shot back, my anger flaring. Deceiving me? Betraying your own family? Her eyes narrowed, a cruel smirk twisting her mouth. Better than dying of boredom. The words hung in the air like poison. I felt something inside me snap, a mixture of pain and fury I couldn't contain. Who is he? I demanded, my fists clenching at my sides. Jessica shrugged, as if it didn't matter. A man who knows how to make me feel alive. Name. Now. She sighed dramatically, flipping her hair over her shoulder. If you must know, it's David. David from the gym. I remembered him. The friendly guy who always waved when we picked up the kids from practice. The guy I shook hands with, oblivious to the dagger he was planting in my back. My stomach churned. How long? She tilted her head, pretending to think. A year. Maybe more. A year. 12 months of lies. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. You're unbelievable. Oh, grow up, Matt, she sneered. This happens. People fall out of love. You're acting like a victim when you're the one who trapped me here. Trapped you? I built a life for us. I loved you. Love isn't enough, she snapped, her eyes blazing. Her words echoed in my head. Love isn't enough. I stood there, feeling every ounce of the betrayal coursing through me. The weight of a year's worth of lies crushed my chest. Jessica's indifference stung more than her affair, her smug expression, her unapologetic tone. I took a step back, swallowing the fury that burned my throat. How could you do this to me? To our kids? She shrugged again, as if I had asked her why she bought the wrong brand of coffee. Don't be so dramatic, Matt. It's not like I'm leaving them. I'm just finally living for me. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. Living for you? I repeated, incredulous. You tore apart your family for some cheap thrill with a guy who couldn't even look me in the eye. Her lips curled into a sneer. At least he's not a boring, predictable puppet. At least he knows how to make a woman feel desired. Something snapped inside me. The man who had always taken the high road, the quiet, loyal husband who bent over backward to keep peace. I was gone. I walked over to the coat rack, grabbed my keys, and headed to the door. Where are you going? She asked, her voice sharp with suspicion. I turned slowly, locking eyes with her. To live for me. Her smirk wavered. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't answer. Instead, I let the silence weigh heavy between us before I finally walked out. I left the house with no real plan, my mind a whirlwind of anger and grief. But as I drove aimlessly, an idea began to take shape. I wasn't going to let Jessica walk away unscathed, pretending her betrayal was just a mild inconvenience in her life of selfish indulgence. I thought about every conversation, every moment where I had ignored my instincts, her late nights, the whispered phone calls, the sudden interest in her appearance. I had swallowed my suspicions because I trusted her, because I believed in the vows we took. But trust had an expiration date. That night, I slept on a friend's couch. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I wasn't going to fight dirty, I was going to fight smart. I returned home later that afternoon. Jessica was waiting for me, arms crossed, her expression a mask of irritation. Disappearing for a whole night? She began, sarcasm dripping from her words. Very mature. I dropped my keys on the counter and stared at her. We're done, Jessica. I've already started the paperwork. Her eyes widened for a brief second before narrowing. You don't get to decide that on your own. Oh, I think I do. I've given you too much power over my life already. That stops now. Her smirk returned, as though she thought she still held the upper hand. You're not going to win. I'll get the house, the kids, everything. I smiled, calm and cold. I'm sure David will love your new responsibilities. She froze. What? You think I'm just going to sit back and let you rewrite the truth? Every dirty secret, every lie. You bet I'll fight for my kids, for everything I built while you threw it away. Her face twisted with fury. You can't prove anything. I leaned forward. We had a shared Apple account, Jess. Every location, every message, every receipt. Don't worry. The court will find it fascinating. Her color drained. Epilogue. The divorce wasn't easy, but I walked away with my dignity and my children. Jessica, she learned that betrayal has consequences, and the fantasy of living for herself crumbled when reality demanded more than deceit. I've moved on. I've learned that trust isn't given blindly. Love should be fierce, but it shouldn't be blind to red flags. And revenge? Sometimes, it's best served with a calm smile and an airtight case.